Hey guys, this is Ray from YouHookah bringing you another Shisha review. In this video I'm going to show you Starbuzz Vintage Tiramisu. So this is actually the second time I shoot this video. Did this video yesterday and today I found out some news that warranted me to make this video again, and that has to do with the price on Starbuzz Vintage. It's actually changed recently. So decided to make a new video and I'll talk a little bit more about the price towards the end of this review. So this is a vintage line from Starbuzz. If you've never had Starbuzz Vintage, this is unlike the other lines from Starbuzz. The other lines, Starbuzz Exotic and Starbuzz Bold, those are washed tobaccos, whereas Starbuzz Vintage is unwashed. So because of that, it carries a little bit of a higher level of nicotine. And for some people, it may give them a buzz, but I actually don't get much of a buzz when I'm smoking Starbuzz Vintage. I think compared to other dark leaf lines, Starbuzz Vintage really doesn't carry that strong of a buzz. And because it's unwashed tobacco, it also carries more of a full-bodied taste, and that appeals a lot to traditional smokers, especially if you're like a cigar smoker and you're jumping over to hookah. And you may like something like Starbuzz Vintage because it does carry some of those tobacco notes when you're smoking it. And some flavors in the vintage line do a better job at masking those tobacco notes than others. I would have to say Tiramisu is one of those flavors. Because it's a strong coffee taste, it really does a good job at masking those tobacco notes in the vintage tobacco. So Tiramisu, if you've never had it, is a wonderful Italian dessert. It's a very popular Italian dessert, and it's most known for its coffee flavor. It's got a very rich coffee flavor. It's made with cream cheese, so it's a bit of a creamy dessert, and it's often topped with cocoa powder and some chocolate shavings. So it has a bit of a chocolate taste, and it's just an all-around wonderful dessert. It's very delectable. If you've never had tiramisu, you should definitely try it at least once. So I was looking at flavors to pick up from Starbuzz Vintage and I saw tiramisu was one of those flavors. And because tiramisu is such a great dessert, I figured I just had to try this and see if it would be good to smoke. So I'll let you know what I think about the smoke in a second, but I'm gonna start this off by opening it up and letting you know what I think about the scent. So this has a really nice aroma. It's very pungent, and it's an in-your-face coffee scent. I mean, you can absolutely tell just by opening this that this is a coffee flavor. And it seems to also have chocolate in here. It seems to be more of a kind of like a creamy chocolate. That's what it resembles to me, and that's what I'm getting out of it. It's basically coffee and chocolate, which is exactly what a tiramisu is. So I think it smells exactly like the dessert. Today I'm smoking this out of a Nouveau Adam hookah using a Liberty Predator bowl and 3 Prestige coconut coals. This is actually my second round of coals on this bowl. And I'm using a D-Hose 2.0, so I'm gonna take a few puffs and show you some clouds. So as you see, Starbuzz Vintage produces some awesome clouds. And that's something very consistent with the Starbuzz Vintage line. It just has really great cloud output. So onto the flavor. Does Tiramisu by Starbuzz Vintage taste like the dessert? I would have to say yes. It tastes exactly like the dessert. And it's such an enjoyable flavor. When you're smoking this, you get a very rich coffee taste. You get hints of chocolate, and it has a creamy taste. And it also has a little bit of a sweetness and a little bit of a bitter taste from the coffee. And that's exactly like tiramisu. It tastes exactly like the dessert. So I think Starbuzz did a great job at making a flavor that resembles this awesome dessert. And it smokes so good. I really like this flavor. If you like tiramisu, there's a good chance you're gonna like this because it's exactly like tiramisu. And if you like coffee flavors, there's also a good chance you're gonna like this because it's not just a strong coffee flavor. It's blended really nicely with creamy notes and chocolate notes, and it's all mixed together so nicely, and it's just a really nice smoke. As far as packing, I packed this in a semi-dense pack. That's how I like packing Starbuzz Vintage. Great thing about Starbuzz Vintage is you can pack it in a bunch of different ways, and no matter how you pack Starbuzz Vintage, it's gonna smoke good. So even if you fluff pack it, semi-dense pack it, and dense pack it, or whatever you do with it, it tends to perform pretty well no matter how you pack it. Another great thing about it is it takes heat very well. So I have 3 full-size cube coals on this. This is my second round of coals and it's smoking great. At no point throughout this session or any of my sessions have I gotten this to feel like it's about to burn because it has too much heat. So it does a really good job at taking heat. And the longevity on this is awesome. I mean, this is my second round of coals. It's smoking just as good as it was when I started this session. And I've had many sessions of multiple rounds of coals that have been great throughout. One thing I've noticed about this is the flavor. The flavor on this doesn't change. It stays very consistent. So you don't really get any shifts in flavors. The only thing I notice is that when you do add more heat, that coffee flavor becomes even more pronounced. And it's a very pronounced coffee flavor, but the coffee picks up a notch when you add more heat. So all around, really like Tiramisu by Starbuzz Vintage. I think it's a great flavor and I think they did a really good job at making something that resembles tiramisu. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is the price, and that is the reason why I redid this video. In the first video, I mentioned that I would only recommend buying this flavor if it was on sale, even though I like it. And I've been talking to a few people recently, and that's been kind of a common feedback I've gotten is it's been that price on Starbuzz Vintage. They didn't like the price. It seems to turn away a lot of potential buyers. And as of today, I found out Starbuzz Vintage is now priced at $17.99. This used to be priced at $24. Some vendors had it on sale for $1 off or $2 off. So generally, when you would buy this, unless if it was like a seasonal sale or something like that, you would have to pay $22 or higher for this. And something you have to consider when you're looking at Starbuzz Vintage is the fact that this comes in 200 grams. So 200 grams, $24, that just turned off a lot of people. A lot of people didn't buy into Vintage because of the price. But now it's priced at $17.99, and that's a great price for Starbuzz Vintage. I hope Starbuzz keeps this price. I think if they would have had this price from the beginning, a lot more people would have tried Starbuzz Vintage. So if you're looking to try Starbuzz Vintage for the first time, if you like tiramisu, or if you like coffee flavors, check out tiramisu because it's a great flavor from Starbuzz Vintage. If you smoke tiramisu, make sure to leave a review on YouHookah.com, let everybody know what you think and let me know what you think. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe.